Jayne Lo.
Hello, James.
Welcome to the Your PT podcast.
Thank you.
Sunny Swansea today.
It's hot here.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful day.
We've had a great summer actually. It's been all good.
Yeah.
Listen, it's amazing to have you here in the podcast studio today. We've been running these for a while, and you know what we're all about at Your PT is giving authenticity to our audience and value. And I'm really excited about today because over the last few months we've got to know each other. You've contributed to things like Level Up in Your PT. You've got to know the business a bit more, and we've got to know you a bit more. We've kind of landed on the reality that we've got a lot of common ground. I think you've got so much value that you can offer our PT network and the industry, the sector. And we're going to explore some of that today.
Thanks for the intro. Amazing.
It's all right. I've done these a few times now.
Yeah, I can tell. Bigging me up on the screen.
Yeah, 100%. You deserve nothing less, Jayne. But before we do that, what I'd really like to start with is getting to know you a bit more and to announce that to our audience. So let's just go back to your journey into the sector.
Yeah.
How did that come about, and where does your passion come from?
So I started 12 years ago. It'll be actually exactly 12 years ago next month.
Oh, wow.
I actually did 2 degrees in something completely unrelated to fitness. I did an undergrad in geography, a master's in urban development planning.
Whoa.
I know, new facts.
Yeah.
You're learning about me. So that was in London, and at the time I started weight training. So I've always been quite active growing up and competed in like swimming, running, did some boxing in uni, but I've never really trained in a gym environment.
Okay.
So I started doing that when I was doing my master's, and just fell in love with it. I think I was obsessed with just seeing myself progress, learning new skills, training with other people. I just really enjoyed that way of training. And I just decided to take some of the girls on my course out to Regent's Park and do boot camps like once a week.
Nice. While
I was doing my master's. And then it was actually one of my friends on the course that suggested that I look into doing a PT qualification.
Okay.
And I guess I would never have considered doing something that I'm passionate about as like for a living. So I just found a 6-week PT course. I mean, at the time, I don't think the courses back then are very good, but it was like a crash course, 6 weeks. Graduated, and then I started at Gym Box in London. Like a week later.
Okay.
A week after straight into
the deep end.
Straight into £1,000 a month rent.
Yeah.
As a self-employed trainer.
Yeah.
That was in Bank. So I actually picked the gym based on where I think the money is. So I obviously went for the CBD in London. I felt like that was actually quite a good choice because it was busy pretty much every peak time. There were a lot of members. It was a very good environment to be in. It was quite like, it's got that same culture as like how I've been brought up. It's like quite a competitive environment.
Yes.
And it's quite like fast paced. And because the PTs that worked there were like that as well, it motivated me and also put like positive pressure on me to actually make myself like work hard and succeed.
Yeah, great environment to thrive, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. And I think I'll go into that later, but I do really think the environment that you work in is really important as to how you perform. And I think that is definitely something to consider as a PT when you choose where you want to work. Anyway, I digress. So I was there for 5 years, and then during that time I competed in bodybuilding.
Okay.
And then again, I did that. I competed in bodybuilding because I felt like I just needed to get myself known online and in person from like a really quick result, like showcasing that I can transform in a really short time. Yeah. And it was, I think at the time I was surrounded by like a few PTs that did CrossFit at the gym and some that did bodybuilding, and I was kind of sat in the middle because I think I would have enjoyed the performance performance sport kind of background a bit more than something that's aesthetic.
Yeah.
But I just thought a 12-week body transformation is going to be a lot quicker than learning how to clean and jerk and snatch and all the gymnastics required in CrossFit and then compete at a high level to make a name for myself. So I signed up to a bodybuilding comp for the summer after I started working as a PT.
Okay.
And then just literally this was on Instagram when Instagram first became a thing back in like 2012. Yeah. And I just documented everything that I was doing, my training, my diet, the fasted cardio that I was doing. And then from there, my business really boomed, both online and in person. Okay. I think it's just, again, I can imagine it's quite inspiring to see someone commit and focus to a goal and then change over time.
Yeah, it's so relevant to the client base that we work with. You know, the clients that we work with on a day-to-day basis are all on their personal journeys. And I think it's so inspiring sometimes to look to their coach, to look to their mentor and see that they are not satisfied. They are reaching for their own Everest.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's so impactful. And the fact that you've kind of considered what you're comfortable with and what you're uncomfortable with, and you've gone with the uncomfortable situation, that's a really, again, inspiring sort of decision to make, isn't it, along that process?
Yeah, and I completely agree, because I do, again, like a few years down the line, I'll talk about that later, but as a manager, when you notice PTs that aren't really self-motivated in their own training, it really reflects on their business and their client base as well. Anyway, so after Gym Box, I left because the rent just became a lot, and I decided I didn't want to keep paying rent while I was on holiday.
So that's interesting. So the key decision maker was a financial decision, and also lack of maybe reward and benefits in the fact that if you go away, you still have to pay that sort of...
Yeah, I think so. And also especially when you're paying... So they increased the rent to £1,200 a month, but there's no... You don't have a line manager. You don't get support. You don't get like education. You don't get any help with your business. Okay. It was very much like you're paying rent there. And obviously paying another £1,000 at home in London, it meant that that's sort of like £2,200 coming out of your account every month, regardless of how much money you're making. So I think it was actually coincided with my final year of competing. Yeah. I moved to a different location because I was like, I'm going to take a year out competing, travel a lot. And obviously because I'm traveling, I don't want to spend as much. So in that year, I moved to a PT studio also in Bank, called Number One Fitness, but they've closed down after COVID. But during that time, because I wasn't going to train in that studio, I joined Third Space as a member, the one in the city. And then I just observed the way the PTs worked there, the way they coached, the way they were with each other, became friends with a few of them. And it's just so nice to see that there's an environment that I would want to be a part of that is also in a commercial facility.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because you feel it, don't you?
You really do feel it, 100%. And as I think as a member experiencing that as well, it just makes you want to be a part of that even more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which really goes to show, I think, the member experience at Gym Box when they are members, but then they don't see the team kind of working together or having a laugh together or supporting each other. It really can affect how, I guess, their experience as a member amongst those PTs. They might find those PTs a little bit more like in your face. Maybe they would find it rude or just because they're...
Yeah, it's about cultural shift as well, I think, isn't it? I think from an outsider's perception, I think in the last few years, I've observed, Gym Box showcasing their PTs a lot more and doing a little bit more. And maybe that's a shift in the industry. 12 years is a long time. And through that time, we've had to navigate pandemics and things of that nature as well. I think as a sector, we're now doing more. We like to think at your PT, we are leading the charge. We do everything for our PTs to help them become successful in our sector, because we know you have to stay around to reap the rewards and the benefits.
Yeah, absolutely.
So increasing the life cycle of PTs is is what we're all about essentially. Okay.
But yeah, so Third Space was a good experience for me to realize what I was missing as a self-employed trainer at Gym Box. And so I spoke to the fitness manager there and the fitness director, Rob, as well, about working there as a manager alongside coaching, because I felt like I'd done 6 years at that point of self-employment, and I wanted to give a lot back to the community in terms of other coaches, and I just really wanted to help them with their business, navigating that commercial gym floor environment. But obviously had no experience managing people, aside from managing my own business. So Rob very kindly created a second assistant fitness manager role for me at City. And then 6 months into that role, we went into lockdown. And then when we came out of it, the city was dead. So I moved to Islington, which is a residential club. So they were a lot busier. It's a much bigger site as well. And then from there, I moved to Mayfair and opened Mayfair as a fitness manager.
So you've gone through the process then of more operational, sort of roles within the sector there, Jayne.
Yeah.
Which is superb, and that requires a different skill set as well as you step into those roles. But I'd imagine the decision when you're transitioning, you're getting the member experience in Third Space, the attractiveness of that role. You mentioned earlier that education wasn't freely available at Gym Box, but it was at Third Space, and Third Space, pride themselves on the education that goes on there. Was that a contributing factor with your decision making?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was something that I noticed before I was a member of staff. Just like the team would sit together like once a week and have education. And again, it was something that I didn't realize I was missing, but I needed. But obviously when you're self-employed, you have to go out and look for something that you would want to learn more about, or you need to, and it needs to be obviously be within your budget. So I think it can be quite a scary field to navigate when you're new and you don't really know what you don't know. So having that experience at Third Space was great. But also as a manager perspective, I think having experience being a PT and having PT friends in a gym where you don't have that support versus a gym where you do, you could really notice the difference in just like the happiness of the trainers, the way they are with each other, the way they are with their clients, the quality of their sessions, and also their just like how they carry themselves, like as a whole, like all of it.
Everyone should be helping each other and lifting each other up, and I think probably over 85% of PTs now in the UK are self-employed. So by default, you can find yourself in quite an isolated environment. So building connections with colleagues and like-minded individuals and getting together at education events is vitally important. That, Level Up, as an example, is a great opportunity for PTs to come together, share success stories, share failings, and to level up together, to be completely cheesy. But I think the education side of it is massive, and no fitness professional should ever kind of dilute that as well. They should all be aspiring to do better and offer more. And it's why personal trainers who invest in that stick around for a long time, because they can continue to innovate and evolve.
Yeah, exactly. And then fast forward 6 years later at Third Space, so I was there for about 6 years. I decided to take on a new challenge. Well, I just felt like I was not really challenged anymore, and I just wanted a change. And obviously I'd moved clubs 4 times. After Mayfair, I moved to Tower Bridge to turn over an underperforming team. So I did that for a year and a half.
So you went into firefighting mode then?
Yeah.
Impact manager. Nice.
Which again was a very different challenge, but I think a very rewarding one as well. But then after that, it was like, got the team to a good level, and it's like, okay, what now? And instead of just waiting around for another site to open and moving again, I just thought, actually, I'll probably gain more value and just self-growth if I just stepped out of that space for a while and then see what happens.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then shortly after that we met at Elevate, I believe.
It was at Elevate. So just for the context of the podcast then, so at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, you were at the transition of moving away and starting to build your name and your brand then within the sector, weren't you? So that's exactly right. When we met at Performex, it was.
Oh yes, it was Performex, that's it, yeah. And so when I left Third Space, I guess I just wanted to do a bit more education and like mentoring of PTs and really help PTs the same way that I did when I was a manager, but outside of being in an employed position, and met James and Aaron and learned all about your PT and what they had to offer, and it really aligned with who I am, what I'm about, and what I believe in, and I think that's really important. So we had some common ground in terms of like topics and themes and some of the things that we were going to speak about today. And felt like it would just make sense to kind of get together and do a podcast and some mini series for the PTs as part of your academy as well.
No, we're really grateful for it, Jayne. And likewise, when we first interacted, it was like, you get it, we get it. And there was so much common ground and awareness of where maybe the skills gaps are for PTs, considerations for PTs. We're really looking forward to continuing our relationship and working together. Next part now, Jayne, we'll split this into some key themes that I think would be really useful to explore with you. To break these down, I think it'd be really good to look at newly qualified PTs, because they come into an environment where it can be quite confusing. So we'll just dive into next steps when you qualify as a PT. We're going to look at program design in particular on a busy gym floor and how we can navigate that situation. We'll also touch on navigating quiet periods throughout the year, because as we know, being in the industry for a while, there can be seasonal changes. And PTs can be very proactive within those periods. And then finally, we'll look at tackling business concerns during pregnancy. So there we'll touch on that and get your insight into how you're navigating that at the moment as well, because of course you are due very soon. 26
weeks pregnant. Didn't mention that in my intro.
Didn't mention
Key
that
message.
In the intro. I know, but it's quite an important life situation going on at the minute.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that would be super insightful, because you're working through lived experience of that process at the moment. So let's kick it off. So newly qualified PTs, what are the top 3 hacks that you would suggest for newly qualified PTs coming into the industry?
The first thing is, and I feel like this is something that a lot of PTs may not necessarily want to hear, but is to just coach as many hours as possible. You shouldn't start your career being picky with who you train. A lot of people want to start only training their niche and the types of people they want to train, but in reality, you're going to get clients that will want a goal that is not necessarily something that you want to do, but it's important to just coach as many different clients as possible and do as many hours of coaching as possible as well, because that's going to be how you'll learn. You'll learn from having different types of clients, coming across different problems, maybe client injuries, clients being very difficult, clients who are very easy to train. But it'll just really showcase what's out there in the industry, and also who you might even want to end up training further down the line. But it's only from these practical hours that you're going to be able to put into practice things that you get out of your PT course.
Okay.
So that would be my first key point. And also, alongside coaching as many hours as possible, it means that you are going to just have better time management. You'll learn to be more patient, more disciplined, be able to communicate with different types of individuals as well, and also learn to be more adaptable to the environment you're in. And obviously later we're going to talk about what to do on a busy gym floor, but it's only when you're coaching a lot of hours that you're going to experience the gym when it's very busy and also when it's very quiet. So you need to have that experience to learn how to adapt to that environment when you do come across it. My second point is to shadow coaches that are better than you. And that comes with also being in an environment where there are coaches that are better than you. One of the reasons why I left Gym Box is also because I felt like there was no one in that environment that I could learn from anymore. A lot of the more senior PTs that have been there for longer had moved on to do their own thing or open their own gyms. And I felt like I wasn't challenged. Whereas when you go to a new gym, a new environment, and all the coaches around you are better coaches, busier than you, it really forces you to almost like level up. And that's when you realize, actually, I don't know as much as I think I know. And I've been doing the same thing on a gym floor for years. I really need to just do more courses, become better, challenge myself a little bit more. And I think as part of that, it's important to ask for feedback as well. Again, as a self-employed PT with no support, you don't really get told if you're doing something wrong, or you don't get challenged. And an environment where even like being part of your academy, if you have a mentor support, someone that can kind of guide you and come and shadow some of your sessions, or if you're working in an environment where you're employed and you have a good manager to do that, it does mean you can just become better from being given feedback, but that's also down to you having an open mind and wanting to accept and receive feedback. And then what you do with that feedback is down to you as well. Just being able to be critical, but also willing to be open to improving and learning. And then my third point is to be in the gym all hours of the day. I know initially you don't want to hear that, I know, but initially that's really important because you need to be seen by the staff, by the members. You don't want to be that new PT that comes in and even like half the staff in the building don't know who you are. You want to be known, you want to be present. You want to be speaking to both the staff and the members, really get your name out there. And you really want to embed yourself within the community, because that is how you get your name and your brand out, and how you can really showcase like your skill set and who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's a confusing time, isn't it? When you start coming into a new environment and you're developing your muscle memory, shall we say, as a personal trainer. What is it to perfect a skill? 10,000 hours. You've got to put a lot of time in, and you're only going to put that time in if you're in the gym. So I completely resonate and agree with those areas and those hacks there, Jayne. So, okay, drawing upon your own experience, is there anything you would do differently if you could turn back the clock to when you started?
Well, as I was saying, not having people that challenged me made me realize that there was actually a lot that I didn't know. And what I wish I did more of when I first started as a PT is to do CPD courses sooner. And that's why when I came across yourself, James, and your PT and your academy to see what you guys offer to self-employed PTs especially, I've realized how valuable that is, because that's not something that I knew about when I was 1 or 2 years into my career, and I didn't realize I could get the support that I didn't have. And I just wish that if I had a bit more guidance, mentoring, or even like direction down the route of like what I could have access to on an education front, it would just make me a much better PT earlier on in my career, instead of kind of like figuring it out for 6 years until I've realized I was missing quite a lot. That's probably the main thing. And the second thing along, which kind of coincides with that, is just getting a coach or a mentor. I don't necessarily mean a business coach, but just someone that is maybe a seasoned PT in the industry that has done it, been successful, kind of like how I was as a fitness manager. That's what I wanted to be to my team. Someone that they can look up to, has been there and done it, but is still doing it,
Yeah.
still doing the hours, still waking up really early, starting my day at 7, sometimes finishing at 8, still working on the weekends because I'm programming for my clients. I still do that to this day. And but actually have that support, so you know that when you're having a bad week, it's okay, but also when you're doing really well, you have someone to share that with.
Yeah.
And if you're stuck, you have someone to kind of help you and support you and guide you.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, the 7 to 8 is not 1 hour, it's 13 hours.
Yeah. 8 p.m. I should have specified.
No,
yes.
it's all good. And the narrative around CPD, I think a lot of PTs look at CPD and they think, I need to do a formal qualification. But continual professional development might come from listening to a podcast, or it might be just having a conversation with your peer, or trying something different, going into a different environment, shadowing a coach that you look up to, learning about their skill set, their traits, and adopting them on a personal basis.
Absolutely.
Love that. And in your experience, best ways to make a great first impression on the gym floor, because let's face it, we only get one chance. So go for it.
I think this is an interesting one because obviously there are some people that can be quite introverted or quite shy naturally, or maybe when they first start as a PT, they just don't feel very confident on the gym floor. But I think you just got to remember, ultimately, you're there to provide a service. And even when you walk into a restaurant, you would expect the person serving you to greet you, to say hi, to ask you what your name is. And as a PT on a gym floor, that's kind of how you want to approach it. Yeah. You're not there to just sell your services straight away, but you're there to introduce yourself, learn more about the person you're speaking to, and just be a human being. Yeah. So my suggestion is to make eye contact, greet people, learn their first name, and just make it about them. Like at the end of the day, they're not there to necessarily find out who you are. They don't really necessarily need to hear what you have done in the past, like how successful you are, or need to know about your service straight away. But they just want to, sometimes people that just want to be heard, and they want to feel like they're being listened to. Yeah. And if you can do that, make it about them, listen to them, and remember some key facts, they're more likely to come back to you in the future, and then you can start having that conversation about working together. Yeah,
the rapport building piece is massive, isn't it? And I think all the years I've been in the industry, there is a common trait with successful PTs, and they are genuinely caring and nice people. Yeah, and I think that is going to be a core characteristic, that you hold. That's fantastic. Okay, we're going to move into section 2. In this part, Jayne, we're going to explore programming. So let's take a scenario, and gyms are getting so popular these days. We've seen we see gyms growing, at vast rates throughout the UK. It's not going to slow down. I think public perception now is health and well-being is very much on the front of people's minds, and everyone is very much in tune with lifestyle and longevity. If we're in a situation where we're operating on a busy gym floor, we're in that environment where you're not always guaranteed to have the kit available that you might need for your program. In your experience, what alternative methods might you put in play to avoid you stuttering in the gym floor? Because there's nothing worse than go into the squat rack, which is occupied, and that's your first drill of the day. How do you navigate that side of coaching?
So firstly, I would definitely suggest programming your sessions around the time you're going to be training your client. Hopefully by now you would have spent enough time on the gym floor to know how busy the gym gets when you're training a client, say at like 5:30, 6:30 p.m. And if you know it's going to be busy, program your session so you can be flexible in the space that you are probably going to have more access to. Yeah. So for example, I like to program my entire session if I know it's going to be peak time in a squat rack. So I will just superset something that I'm doing on a squat rack, even if it's a pull-up on the rack, if it's got pull-up bars, with a lower body exercise. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that's a barbell that you're using off the rack, but it's just the space that you've got within the rack. So it could be dumbbell lunges with some pull-ups, and then after that you're doing a strict press with some rows or something, and you're just within the same space, so you don't have to move around too much. And also I like to superset body weight or dumbbell or band movements with a barbell or machine movement, because you can be quite dynamic with jumping in and out, sharing with another member if they're using a piece of kit. But at the same time, you don't have to have your client standing around waiting while they're resting if they didn't want to. So just being flexible with the kit that you have, and remember, you can move dumbbells across the gym. You don't have to stick to where the dumbbells and the benches are. Move kit to where you want it to be, but obviously put it back. And
rule number one.
Rule number one.
Put your kit back.
But just adjust in the moment. And again, if there was a movement that you wanted to do with, say, a barbell, but all the barbells are being used, just adapt and do a dumbbell or a kettlebell variation. Like, you don't have to do a barbell lunge. It could be a dumbbell lunge. It could be a kettlebell lunge. It could even be like a single-legged leg press. Just think about the movement pattern of the exercise that you're doing, and do the same exercise in the same movement pattern with a different load variation.
All makes sense. And we spoke briefly about this earlier. I think the hallmark of a good PT is they can PT in a phone box. So no equipment needed. You have to think on your feet, but have a good exercise bank, a good library in your mind that you can utilize. Okay, I think from my perspective as well, having a flow of your session is really important, like a clear start, middle, end. In your experience, Jayne, what makes the perfect flow stand out to you from a PT perspective?
So obviously start with a warm-up, and a warm-up includes doing mobility with a client. I think that's very important. Most of your clients will probably come from a background where they're just sitting for hours, and if they've been sat down for 8 hours and the first thing they do is stand up and then they drive to you to then load themselves up, it's probably not going to be very good for them. So mobility is important. Then I would move into light power work if that's something that you do with your clients. Again, with an aging demographic, it's important to introduce some power work, because that's helps with stopping them from getting injured when they trip and fall. But power is also fun. Doing power is basically like doing plyometrics, doing like med ball work. And that is just fun for someone that has potentially been sitting all day, because it's a bit more dynamic. It reminds them of like PE and sport, and it's a different way of moving, and also it's quite a good way to wake the body up as well. And then you want to move into more high skill work or compounds. And don't look at compounds like it has to be a barbell exercise, but basically any exercise that involves more than 2 joints, likely to be a compound. Especially with beginners, you want to put that first, because these exercises will just involve a bit more brain power and energy, and you want to do that when they're fresh. So put that at the earlier part of your session, and then move on to accessories after that. And accessories can be done with, again, free weights or machines, something that doesn't involve as much skill, as much strength, and you can do in a quieter part of the gym. And then a finisher, I would always say it should be what the client loves, so they leave with like a feeling of, oh, that was a good session. No, that was an amazing session, not a good session. And that would vary depending on obviously the client's goals, but also who they are. So maybe they just really want great arms, in which case you could spend the last 10 minutes just doing like an arm finisher with them. Or it could be abs and core, which obviously you get a lot of, but it could also just be a sweaty Metcon for 10-15 minutes at the end. So again, just be flexible with who the client is in front of you, and it doesn't have to be the exact same format for every client that you train.
Love that. And it gives a clear start, middle, finish. communication wise, you're painting the picture before you start your session.
Exactly.
I always laugh at the terminology accessories in the rugby world. When we used to do our strength and conditioning, we used to call it just beach workouts.
Yeah,
just the beach muscles.
Your beach workouts, probably that and your finisher, isn't it?
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. Okay, that's amazing. And I think we see personal trainers now work on small group basis as well in a gym floor environment. So if you've got a dedicated studio space or strength and conditioning suite, sometimes that's really easy to navigate, and it gives a private experience for a group of people who might be nervous about using your main gym.
Yeah.
But in the typical sense, this happens often on the gym floor. How can you work with a busy gym environment to accommodate group PT services?
Mm-hmm. Again, you want to find some open gym floor space. So that could just be like a bit of space by the wall. It doesn't have to be slap bang in the middle of the gym floor when you know that there'll be people maybe doing like deadlifts, squats, and like weightlifting around you. And then grab a couple of benches or maybe some like plyo boxes and just block off the area so you form almost like a square. And then I would just program a full body session using dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, body weight, and you can get your group of clients to work in pairs. So they're almost going like you go, I go. So while one person's resting, the other one is working. Or they could be supersetting, again, as I mentioned before, like maybe a dumbbell exercise with a bodyweight exercise on the floor. Yeah. That way you can use quite a small space but still get quite a lot in and still be able to deliver quite a good session as well.
Yeah, I think that's great tips. And it can be frustrating for a PT and for an operator sometimes as well. We try to cap the amount of members involved in group training on the gym floor environment. So we have to be mindful of busy periods. We don't want to interrupt the other members' experience as well. But I think they're really sensible suggestions there, Jayne. Okay, we're going to move into our next section. So in this section, we're going to look at a really interesting topic, and we know in the industry that no month is built the same. Like any other sector, we have high-performing months, low-performing months, and nothing is linear. From your experience, let's look at how we can navigate the quiet periods throughout the year. So seasonal-wise, we're looking at sort of your July, your Augusts, and maybe throughout the Christmas period as well, is traditionally what we see in the industry. What are your suggestions and tips of navigating these seasonal changes?
So the main thing I always do is I move all my one-to-one clients online when there's going to be a period that I know they're going to be away. So it's quite common that clients might go away for the whole of summer if they have kids, and maybe the whole of December or January if they're going to be a bit busier at work. But obviously you don't want them to lose that frequency of training and the intensity. So even though their actual sessions with you may drop down, you want to make sure they're still training by themselves. So I always encourage clients to train by themselves, and I would provide them with a program as well. So they're still interacting with me and I know what they're doing in the time that I'm not seeing them. And over the last few years, I started charging my clients separately for their program on top of the sessions that I do with them, because obviously that's extra time I'm spending every weekend doing the work to make sure they have great sessions throughout the week. And it also means that when they are going away on holiday, I can then adapt their program to the gym or even the hotel room that they're going to be in. So I always encourage my clients to send me pictures of where they're staying, or even a link to the website so I can do a bit of research on the hotel that they're staying at. And then again, if you make your sessions very accessible, enjoyable, and predominantly with kit that they will have access to, they have no excuse to commit to it. Just make it as easy as possible for the client to actually train. And when they come back from their periods of not seeing you, they're more likely to actually carry on training with you than fall off the wagon if they've already started falling off the wagon for a couple of months. So that is the key thing. And second thing is during a quieter period, I think is a very good time for you as an individual to explore like other options of earning money from coaching. And a couple of things I would suggest is like group sessions. So you could do small group PT sessions, and if the weather's good over the summer, you could take them outside. So I've been doing some corporate classes this summer, which is obviously very different to training in a gym, because you need to either do like bodyweight stuff or band work, but you can be quite adaptable to the space around you. So we were in Green Park this year, and we had benches, and we basically tied bands onto the benches, and we used the bench as almost like an actual bench in the gym. So we did like back foot elevators, split squats on there, even some like handstand pike push-ups off it. So that's just a bit different. Step ups.
It's very versatile a bench can be.
It is, right? Like a park bench. And then also might be a good time for you to host events as well for your existing client base, your community. You could do that maybe in collaboration with the gym you work at, or even at a different space. Maybe do that with another PT, and just host events in a time where you know you're not going to be as busy with one-to-one coaching, because it just hosting events does take a lot out of you. But again, that could just be a different way to grow your community, meet more people, but also make a bit of extra income when your PT income is a bit lower.
I think that's really important, and also seasonal changes come with trends. So let's take a typical example: school holidays, families are going away. But what about the clients who haven't got families? You know, they still want some activities to plug into. They might want to ramp up their training during that period, because they're not taking their vacations around the same time as the clients with families. So I think there are always ways for PTs to be proactive in these periods throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's brilliant. Well, another point to touch on as well, Jayne, is the consideration of direct debits for clients, and your thoughts on keeping a direct debits linear throughout the year, so consistent throughout the year. So irrelevant of how many coaching sessions you're having physically, is there a consideration for coaches to keep a direct debit consistent throughout the year, irrelevant of the time face-to-face?
So I think direct debit is a great way to ensure you have a set amount of income coming in every month. And that's also something I started doing a few years ago. And I do set my direct debit based on the minimum number of sessions I would want a client to do with me a month, which is 4 a month. So most of my clients are on a direct debit of 4 sessions a month, and then they'll get top-ups for extra sessions that they do. And then as part of this direct debit, all my clients pay a programming fee as well. But the programming fee they pay would be less if they do more PT sessions. So essentially, I know that even during the quieter months, I'm going to have a minimum amount coming in for the program and the 4 sessions. And even if the client's away for just 2 weeks of that month, I know I can fit in 4 sessions into 2 weeks of the 2 start of the weeks of that month as well. And it's just a better way for you to forecast how much money you'll make that year if you have the direct debits. And I think that's important to kind of set up at the beginning, and also set boundaries as well with your clients as to how much notice you want them to give you if they were to stop. Otherwise, if there wasn't a smooth line of communication, it's just going to be quite tough for you to navigate periods when all of a sudden 3 of your clients decide to stop, and they don't mention it until like the week that you're meant to see them. Absolutely.
Tight contracts, and I think having that consistency is vital to personal trainers, because you can hit the catastrophe button quite quickly if you're in that situation where you've lost maybe a few clients through no fault of your own. But I think that just makes business sense there, Jayne. So really grateful for your insight on that. Another thing we're aligned on.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's look at marketing campaigns. So as a PT, are there any ideas or inspirations you can offer in terms of producing seasonal marketing campaigns or promotions that you've used?
So I guess during the quieter months, it's quite good to get referral from your existing client base. And again, it could just be the case of like training their partners or get them to bring their partners to one of your PT sessions. But something else that I think is quite a nice thing to do for your client base, and also to kind of create a bit of a community, is to check an events calendar for what's coming up in the year.
Yeah.
So for example, it could be a 5K, it could be a 10K, it could even be like, again, this is quite common in the UK at the minute, but high rocks, athletics as well, turf games, or even battle cancer, something that is quite low skill, but you can kind of get your clients to work towards. And if there was, say, a turf games in October, you can set that as a goal for your clients to work towards.
Yep.
You could potentially have a few of your clients working towards the same goal if they're of a similar ability, and you can enter them as a team. And then you can just do a lot of content around that leading up to the event, and also content on the day as well. And that will really showcase who you are as a coach, your ability to get your clients from where they are to where they were to where they are on the day when they're actually competing.
Yeah.
And also showcase the community and the culture that you've created within your network of clients.
Yeah.
And that's just a great way to get lots of clients training together, working at the same time towards a common goal, a lot of cool content, and it just increased reach. It's great for client retention, and engages your community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's there's some really good examples, and creating that bond that you're going to need for your core community to stick together.
Yeah.
And setting targets. It's fun, isn't it? You know, when you all go en masse to maybe a high rocks event, you can have a great time. You're going to build friendships, which is going to keep your community stable. Fantastic. Okay. We're going to move into the fourth section. And this is pertinent to life as it is at the moment, Jayne. So the topic here is female specific, and it's tackling business concerns during pregnancy, which, again, life event considerations will explore your experience so far as well through your journey. But being self-employed, dealing with pregnancy, 3 things that someone should consider or focus on if they're worried about losing income or their client base, and how they navigate back to personal training post-pregnancy. What's been your thought process, your cycle as you've been through this journey?
So firstly, I would try to have the conversations with your clients early.
Yeah.
Some of my clients found out before my friends even did, because obviously if you're going to be training them during your first trimester, that's usually when people feel they're worse. You don't want to be showing up to a session and you're just not yourself. Maybe you're in a bit of a mood, or you have really low energy, and for them to feel like you're just delivering a bad service every week for the first 12 weeks. So it's important for them to know, obviously, if you feel comfortable telling them. But I think what I was surprised by is how understanding and supportive all my clients have been.
Yeah,
and especially as a lot of them will actually just really want to share their experience of being parents with you, and also all their pregnancy experience as well. And then after having that conversation, I think it's important to, again, set some boundaries and train your clients at a time when you know that you have the energy to give them. Obviously, they are going to be understanding and adapt around you as much as they can, but at the same time, you don't want to repeatedly provide a bad service. So be protective over the times you work. I've basically stopped training clients at 7 a.m. because I just know I'll need the extra hour to sleep. But then what I have done is spread my hours over 6 days now instead of 5 days. So I'd rather do an extra day, do fewer hours each day, and have shorter days of PT hours than I would having big days of sessions or doing a lot of back-to-backs, because I know that just drains me. And I think it's also important to set your clients up so they're able to train online when the time comes and you're on maternity leave. Again, like going back to what we said earlier about what to do when, like, you're a bit quieter over the summer periods, having the flexibility to move your clients online means that you'll still have that direct engagement with them, and you can still support them while you're not seeing them in person. Mm-hmm. So it may mean some of your clients who aren't as comfortable training alone, one of the things is just to empower them so that you've got 9 months to get them to 10 months to get them to a stage where they're going to feel comfortable training remotely with you. Mm-hmm. But if you do that, then you're less likely to come back out of pregnancy without a client base. So keeping them engaged, getting them to move from one-to-one to online eventually when you are on maternity leave, it's just a good way to ensure you're maintaining your business. Yeah. But as part of that, it's important that you're delivering that service well as well. So make sure your program is delivered on something that's easy to follow, because they're more likely to buy into that and also to commit to it.
Yeah.
And then my final thing to suggest is during periods when you're feeling good, and again, for most PTs, for most women, that's going to be during your second trimester. Try and do a few more hours if you can, because just like when the season is good for PT, you're going to do more sessions because you know there are going to be seasons where it's a bit quieter. Yeah. When it comes to pregnancy, when you're feeling good, you want to just do a bit more if you're able to, because there are going to be periods or weeks even where you just don't feel as good. So I'll just make the most of the time that you are feeling good, so that when there are days that you don't feel good, you don't feel like guilty not working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sharing, with your clients is so important. And in my experience, as fitness professionals, because we give so much to our clients, they're almost glad in a way to now be able to give back to you.
100%, yeah.
And the the love that you feel then from your clients is incredible, and that's really important. And actually, just reflecting as you're talking there, Jayne, on what we see as a trend currently with your academy, our highest kind of selling course at the moment is pre and postnatal. So many more fitness professionals now are taking that, and they're utilising that to their advantage to position themselves in their gym facility. Yeah. It's really great to see. Thinking about exercise, I mean, you haven't taken a step back for your pregnancy. You're still lifting, which is great to see. Any tips, any research on women going through pregnancy, what they should consider around their bodies, around exercise? What's been your experience and findings?
So the research, actually, more recent research, actually shows that strength training and cardio, just doing cardio throughout pregnancy, is going to make labor and the pregnancy and obviously the health of the mother and the baby a lot better. So there's no reason, unless medically the doctor says no, if you had any history of conditions, that you need to necessarily completely stop training during pregnancy. Obviously, I think the important thing is you need to go off how your body feels. There may be movements that you just don't feel comfortable doing from the very beginning of pregnancy, but there also might be some things that the research suggests you don't do, but you actually feel quite good doing still. Yeah. So I think that's very much going to be independent. Just like any client that you train, regardless of whether or not they're pregnant, you're going to just have to adapt based on how they feel on that day. If your client's highly stressed and they come to a session and they just can't do anything, you're going to adapt the session. I almost sometimes adapt my own training sessions as if I was just a client of my own, and I'm not necessarily injured, but I know that I need to just be aware of there's an external factor that's going to affect how I perform and how I show up each day. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've been taking my pregnancy journey. So again, like, I've got pregnant clients currently and also clients who have had kids, who have actually all had very positive pregnancies and they all trained throughout. Yeah. And I've got female friends who are coaches, who are currently also pregnant, and some of them are actually doing a lot less strength work than me, but more cardio, whereas I've been able to maintain both. Some of them are still doing a lot of core work, whereas I stopped that quite early on. So it is so dependent on the individual. And also, I think if you've been active your whole life, which a lot of PTs would have been, more likely than not, you're probably going to be able to do more than you think. So I think it's important to read up on research around what you should and shouldn't do, but at the same time, take everything as a pinch of salt, because unless there's something out there that says do not do this, there's actually a lot of it is just suggestions. So even I've realized a lot of the NHS suggestions around nutrition, or what to eat, what not to eat, it doesn't actually say you can't eat this. They just say they strongly advise against, like say sashimi or like eggs that aren't cooked through. And even like coffee and caffeine intake, and we obviously spoke, and James, your wife Lisa, had coffee throughout pregnancy, whereas I'm limiting myself to one a day, but I still have matcha and other drinks which I'm sure contains caffeine, but I'm pretending to ignore it. But it's not affected the health of the baby so far. So I guess it's just down to what you decide to take on from what's out there. But obviously there will be things that you absolutely cannot do, which you'll come across. And I think it's down to you to kind of decide whether or not that's the right advice for you.
100%. And we've shifted so much in the last 10, 15 years, but the research, the education, the parameters to put in place throughout pregnancy. And I think years ago, going back to, my early days in the industry, it was like, low impact exercise. You can't do, we can't do this, can't do that. And it's nonsense. You've got to work with the body that you're built in and what you're familiar with. And that as you stated, is going to put you in a position then for health benefits.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because as I mentioned earlier to you, there were a couple of days last week where I was on my feet a lot for work, and I ended up doing 2 days of like over 20,000 steps, and that actually felt like exercise for me, whereas previously I wouldn't have. But so I just decided not to train those 2 days. Again, you just got to learn what your body is capable of and adapt, and just take it every day as it comes. That's my suggestion.
Embrace it all, absolutely. And looking ahead, Jayne, how do you feel about being a mum, balancing that with work in our busy sector? What's your thoughts, feelings, and plan for the future?
So as a PT, I guess like obviously you're not gonna know. I'm not gonna know what the actual labor part is gonna look like for me. And if you have a C-section, your return to work may take longer because your recovery is going to be longer. But if you have a natural birth, the research is saying you can pretty much start like light exercise from 4 to 6 weeks postpartum. So I'd assume that working, like physical work as a PT, would be pretty similar. But again, it just depends on the space that you work in. I'm very lucky that the gyms that I coach out of all allowed children on the gym floor, and dogs. So it does mean that I do have the ability to bring my baby to work with me if I had to. But obviously, again, I'm not going to know how I feel and what my recovery period is going to be like until after. So I think my suggestion to everyone is just to take each day as it comes. Get the help if you have access to help. If you can, with just family or friends looking after, helping with childcare, and also see if you are able to work in an environment where they can be quite flexible with having kids there as well, if you don't have access to getting childcare quite early on. But yeah, just do not force yourself into anything, and try and stay open and communicate with your clients with regards to how you're feeling and when you want to go back.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really important to consider, and some brilliant insight there as well. So thank you so much, Jayne, for sharing all that detail and your experience through date. Good luck with everything that side.
Thank you, James.
It's an exciting time, as we were discussing earlier. That brings us on to the end of our session. These go quick, don't they?
They do.
They do. And we've had a couple of interruptions in between that. That listeners won't be aware of. But so grateful for your time. We as part of the podcast, we always like to give the guests the final word. So I'll leave you with a broad question, and you can go with it, Jayne. But what does the future look like long term for Jayne Lo and her impact in the industry?
That's a great question. In my intro, I didn't actually mention I now work for BLK BOX full-time as well, as a business development manager and also an educator. So I love the industry and I really enjoy being a part of it. And I think it's great that now being with BLK BOX means I have access to more gyms. I'm seeing the country a lot more, going to different cities, doing site visits, and what I really want to do on the coaching side of things is to be able to have more impact in gyms outside of London, because I feel like within London there is already so much support and opportunities for coaches that are there because of just the size of it. It's just a bit more. There's a lot of gyms in a very small space. But outside of London, I really want to make more of an impact, and I'm hoping that I can do that through your PT and also through BLK BOX as well. And the next education session that I'm doing is actually going to be with Pure Gym in Manchester as part of a BLK BOX and Pure Gym collaboration, and that is the second week of September. And that's open to any coaches. Actually, that's going to be a female-only session, so it'll be any female coaches. Okay. But hoping to be able to do more things like that through either BLK BOX or your PT or just any like gyms that are out there and want a bit more support for their PTs on site.
Yeah, amazing, exciting times ahead. We're really looking forward to continuing our relationship as well, Jayne, and thank you for all your input and support. I think you're an incredible ambassador for BLK BOX. You represent your PT, your academy, and for the industry, for the sector as a whole. Thanks once again for being here today. We'll do a follow-up. Post-pregnancy. We'll bring the baby down. And,
absolutely.
We'll take him on a ramble around Swansea.
Time.
100%. Amazing. Thanks again, Jayne.
Thank you so much for your time.